Hi everyone, so today we're going to be doing notes on section 7.5, which is factoring. So we're going to just get into the very beginning of factoring today. And we're going to be factoring things that look like this: ax squared plus bx plus c with a equal to 1. Next time we'll get into factoring when a is not equal to 1. First thing I want you to do is these two review problems. This is review from the multiplying polynomials that we've done the last few days. So go ahead and push pause, and then when you're ready to check your answers, push play. All right, go ahead and check your answers for these two problems. So what we're going to be doing now with factoring is, instead of starting with it in this form and ending up with it written out like this, we're going to be going in the opposite order. So we're going to be working backwards. So for example, we'll start with something that looks like this: x squared minus x minus 6, and we'll be writing our answer in what we call the factored form, the x plus 2 times x minus 3. So that's what we're going to get into now. I want you to go ahead and pause this real quick to write down the thing that's in the big highlighted purple box, and then I will explain it. All right, so we're going to be using something called the big X method. Some of you may have heard about this in previous math classes, but this is basically a really, really great way for factoring these trinomials. Remember, trinomial is 3 terms. So in this trinomial, ax squared plus bx plus c, we draw a big X, and in the top of this big X, we write whatever our a times c value is, and what goes in the bottom is whatever our b value is. So those are the coefficients, the a, b, and c. Those are the numbers that get filled into the big X. Then we want to find two numbers that multiply to get the top, the a times c, and add to get the bottom, the b. Now, I always remember where these go as well, because the b goes in the bottom, b and b. They both have a b, so b goes in the bottom. Once you find these two numbers that multiply to get the top and add to get the bottom, that's what's written in green. Those are the two numbers. And then you have to divide them by whatever our a value is. And then when you write your final answer out, it's whatever number, your a value that was on the bottom, goes in front of your x, and then you either add or subtract the number on top. I know this looks a little confusing right now with just using a bunch of letters, but it'll start to make more sense once we see examples with actual numbers. But before we get into that, I just want to practice going through some of these with the big X, and just kind of getting the hang of figuring out how to fill in these sides based on the numbers that are given to us. So first things first, this first one, my big X, what's on the top is 9 and the bottom is -6. So I need two numbers that multiply to get 9 and add to get -6. So I'm going to write over here what my options are that multiplies to get 9. It's either 1 and 9, -1 and -9, 3 and 3, or -3 and -3. Those are the options. Let me zoom that in a little bit. For what multiplies to get +9. So of those options, which combination adds to get -6? Good, you should have said the -3 times -3, because those multiplied give me 9, but then -3 minus 3 is -6. So those are my two numbers. That was what worked. Let's try another one. 4 on the top, 4 on the bottom. Now the options for what multiplies to get 4 is 1 and 4, -1 and -4, 2 and 2, and then -2 times -2. Which one of those pairings adds to get 2? Or sorry, adds to get 4? Good, you should have said the 2 and 2. Because 2 times 2 is 4, that gives us the top. But then adding them, 2 plus 2 is also 4, gives us the bottom. All right, now I want to do one like this, the negative 84, because that number is a little bit bigger and it might be harder to figure out what your factors are. You'll get to a point where you're able to do these in your head without using a calculator, but I just want to address how to do this on your calculator. So, actually, I'm going to scoot it this way. So 84, I want to look at my options. So 84 divided by, obviously, 1, I know is going to be an option. 1 and 84. 84 is even, so I know 2 is going to go into it. So 2 and 42. Those numbers are still way too far apart to get 5. So let's try 84 divided by 3. That also goes in evenly. 84 divided by 4 is 4 and 21. 84 divided by, I know 5 will not go into it, so let's try 6. 6 and 14. We're getting really close. 84 divided by 7. 7 and 12. The difference between these numbers, 7 and 12, these numbers are 5 apart. So I know that 7 and 12 are going to be my correct numbers, but one of these has to be negative, because right now they multiply to get positive 84. I need them to be negative 84. So which one am I going to make negative so that it still adds to 5? Good, you should have said the 7. Because negative 7 times 12 is negative 84, but then 12 minus 7 is 5. If we had done it the other way and made it negative 12, our answer would have been negative 5, which is incorrect. So we want to be careful about which number is the negative. Scoot this back over. I'm going to do one more with you, and then you'll finish off the last of them on your own. So let's do this one up here. When I see 30 and 13, the first thing that comes to mind is 3 and 10. Now, one of those has to be negative for it to multiply. So if it's 10 minus 3, that's 7, so that's not correct. And if it's 3 minus 10, it's negative 7, also not correct. So those are not my numbers. Let's try 2 also goes into this. So 2 and 15. 15 minus 2 is positive 13, which is not correct. But 2 minus 15 is negative 13. So the 15 is going to be the negative number. And again, you'll start to get better at this once you practice it more. You'll start to see it more without writing out all of your options. You just have to kind of get the hang of it. All right, so go ahead and pause this video. I want you to fill in the last 4 X's and then push play when you're ready to check. All right, go ahead and check your last 4 that you did on your own. Now I want to point out, when your number on top is positive and the number on the bottom is negative, both factors will have to be negative, because a negative times a negative gives you a positive, but they have to add up to a negative number. Versus when you have a negative number on the top, one of your numbers has to be negative, because in order to have a negative when you multiply, one of them has to be negative. So that's a good thing to pay attention to. All right, let's go ahead and look at some actual examples now where you are given the actual trinomial to factor. So this first one, we want to factor x squared plus 6x minus 27. Now the first thing I want to do is point out what my a, b, and c are. So the a is the coefficient in front of x squared, so a equals 1. B is my coefficient in front of the x, so b equals 6. And c is whatever the constant is at the end, which is negative 27. So I know what my a, b, and c values are. Now for my big X, the top is going to be my a times c, and the bottom will be my b. So A times C is 1 times negative 27, which is negative 27, and the bottom is B, which is 6. So I need two numbers that multiply to get negative 27 and add to get 6. You may see this right away, but I'm going to go ahead and write it over here what my options are. So negative 27, my options are 1 and negative 27. That doesn't work. Negative 1 and 27 also doesn't work. 3 and negative 9, that does not work. Negative 3 and 9. This one is the correct one because 9 minus 3 is 6. So my numbers, and it doesn't matter which one you write where, are negative 3 and 9. Now the other thing here is the dividing by A. So I'm going to divide these factors by 1. And negative 3 divided by 1 is just negative 3. 9 divided by 1 is just 9. So then from here, we can write our answer. So this minus 3 gives us the factor x minus 3. And then this one is positive 9. So that's going to be x plus 9. So that's where those things come from. So let me draw a little arrow to that. That is where your factors come from. Now the reason why I divided these by 1 is because once we get into our next set of notes where the A value is greater than 1, dividing by that number is actually going to have an impact. It's going to do something to our problem. Right now, our numbers just stay the same because we're dividing by 1. But you'll see the significance next time we do notes. Let's look at another example. Now the question here is, why is it y's now instead of x's? You can use any variable you want. It does not have to be x's. All right. What's my A value? Good, you should have said 1. What's my B value? You should have said negative 3. And what's my C value? Good, you should have said negative 18. So now in my big X, the top is your A times C, the bottom is your B. So A times C is 1 times negative 18, which is negative 18. And the bottom is C, or sorry, the bottom is B, which is negative 3. So again, you may see right away what your factors are, but I'm going to still keep writing it out for the people who still struggle to see what they are. So the numbers that multiply to get negative 18 are 1 and negative 18. That does not work. Negative 1 and 18 also doesn't work. 2 and negative 9, that does not work. Negative 2 and 9 also doesn't work. 3 and negative 6, that one works. 3 times negative 6 is negative 18, which is the top. And then 3 minus 6 is negative 3, which is the bottom. So that's the one that works. And again, if we were to divide these by A, divide by A, they just remain the same numbers, 3 and negative 6. So my two factors that I'm going to write, now again, pay attention, this was y's, so it's going to be y, and then this is positive 3, so plus 3, and then this one is negative 6, so y minus 6. And I just realized what I forgot to do with the last one was I want to check the answer just to show you that it is in fact correct. So this last example, I'm going to check So x minus 3 times x plus 9. If I FOIL that, so first, outer, inner, last, I'm going to get x squared plus 9x minus 3x minus 27. Simplify it, and I get x squared plus 6x minus 27, which is correct. That's what we started with. Now I know all of these colors, all of this going on here can be a little bit overwhelming. The next few examples I'm going to do with you are going to be more simple and how I'm going to have it on the homework. I just wanted you to see up front with all the different colors and everything where all the different parts are coming from. All right, let's do 2 more examples. All right, so first things first, my big X, my A times C, 1 times 8, it's 8. And then the bottom is B, which is negative 6. Now my 2 numbers, my options are, now because this is positive, it's either going to be 2 positive numbers or 2 negative numbers, but it has to add to a negative. So that tells me both numbers will be negative. So negative 1 and negative 8, that doesn't work. Negative 2 and negative 4, that one does. So negative 2, negative 4. Now our A value is equal to 1. Again, I'm just showing you that step to get you in the habit that when your A value is greater than 1, you're still going to have to divide by that A. And that's the most common mistake that people make, is forgetting to do that. So negative 2 gives me the factor x minus 2. And then negative 4 gives me the factor x minus 4 because it's a negative number. Do you think it matters what order these are written in? Good. You should have said no. It doesn't. It's 2 factors and they're being multiplied. I don't care if they were written the other direction, just as long as you have both. All right, now this last one, big X. What goes in the top? Good. If you said 20, you are correct. That's your A times C. What goes in the bottom? Good. If you said 9, you are correct. So my 2 numbers, this one I'm going to do without that little green sidebar off to the side. 20 is either going to be 1 and 20, which is not going to work. 2 and 10 won't work. 4 and 5. 4 plus 5 equals 9. So it's going to be 4 and 5. They're both positive numbers. So this is going to be x plus 4 times x plus 5. Now the reason why I chose not to write the divided by 1 is because I know it's just going to end up giving me the same factors. I did for the other ones just to get you in the habit of understanding that this thing here is always going to be divided by A. But when our A value is 1, it's not going to change anything. Alrighty, I added in some examples for you to try on your own. I gave you a different variety of ones that will have positive and negatives. So go ahead and pause this video, try these examples on your own, and then push play when you're ready to check your answers. So here's the answers to all of the examples. Sorry, I scooted it over to the right side of the page so that the little bars across the bottom don't block the work. Now I went with the minimum amount of work shown. So if you showed the extra work of what your possibilities are for what multiplies to get the top, that's totally fine. Again, once you work through more of these problems, you'll start to get the hang of it and be able to recognize what your 2 factors are without showing that little green arrow that I showed off to the side with the possibilities. You'll start to get more comfortable with it. And some of you may have already gotten more comfortable with it. Alrighty, so that is it for today. And have a good rest of your day.